Luke Goodish, Nathaniel Hummel, welcome back to Suit Up the Podcast.
Thanks for
Thanks for
having us,
having us.
dude.
It's always a good time.
Just for the sake of the audio listeners, can each of you just quickly introduce yourselves so they recognize whose voice goes to who? Although at this point, you guys are pretty
I'm
recurring.
LS Goodish. Just kidding. Sorry. I'm Nathaniel Hummel. One of the co-founders of Veritas Entertainment and the co-host of the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast. Thanks for having me, Terrence.
Yep, and it's LS Goodish, but it's just Luke. You can call me Luke, and I am also one of the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast hosts and a writer for Veritas and a friend of Terrence that I'm excited to talk to.
Dudes, this is awesome. Thank you for joining me to talk about The Adventures of Robin Hood, a film that is very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Part of the reason this movie is special to me is that the other day when I was like, my wife is not a big movie person, but when I said, honey, I'd like to do a spontaneous movie night and I'd like it to be The Adventures of Robin Hood, she looked at me with joy in her eyes because this is
That's
one of the
awesome.
very short list of movies that she genuinely adores and loves.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
good
super.
one. It was. I'm not. Nathaniel knows I'm not as huge on older movies. I'm pretty. I get bored with older movies a lot
Mhm.
of times. This one was awesome. I really like. I thought that the pacing or something would hurt, but didn't. It was really, really a solid film. So thank you for showing it to me. And Errol Flynn, I always need more of him. You told me about the Gentleman Jim, another great one. It's like the man's a legend, and I need to open up my mind with the older movies because they never cease to disappoint me. They don't disappoint me. I'm just too stupid to know how to say that.
What was the first time you
Yeah,
guys saw this movie?
My first time, yeah.
I
Wow.
I saw it a long time ago, and I I'm not really good at keeping track of movies, but I have this on IMDb as a 10 out of 10, and
Mhm.
it stood the test of time. Watching it now as an adult, it's fantastic. I don't know. I'm sure we're going to get into it, so I don't want to overstay my
Mhm.
welcome talking about it, but it's so good. The only critique at all that I have is the tights and the shiny things on his arm were really the only negatives for me. Other than that, it's just a perfect movie. It's so good.
Okay, to your point, the thing I think that I somehow missed this, maybe it's because this is the first time that I like rented the HD version.
Uh-huh.
And like when we first meet Robin Hood and he charges up on screen, and yeah, he's got like the frills of his like
Yeah, dude.
tunic doublet thing have like shiny bits. I'm like, oh, how have I missed that all these years?
What a guy, dude. Is very, very fashionable man. The
Yeah.
tights. I mean, I'm sure that was uncomfortable, right? The stunts they were doing in this to
Oh my
wear
goodness.
tights through that had got to be some rip tights on the set of Robin Hood. Many a rip tights.
I mean, from what I heard, Errol Flynn was ladies' man, so it wouldn't surprise me if he was
Yeah.
quite glad about that. But so this movie I've seen, I don't know, dozen times. When I grew up, actually, good question for you guys. We're not going to go through the film beat by beat, but we'll talk about kind of an overview of it.
Uh-huh.
My first Robin Hood experience was, I think, like a lot of young people, the 1970s Robin Hood that Disney did, where it's just called the one with the foxes, I guess.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Main thing I realized watching this movie is how much that movie ripped off The Adventures of
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I,
Well, Nathaniel, go ahead. Because I
I
was
was
I was
also
gonna.
struck by that. Um, Even to the point of the costuming for
Yes.
the bow and arrow like
Yes.
the because he pretends to be a stork in the Robin Hood with the foxes. And I was watching this one and I was like, because I mean, probably 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we watched Robin Hood with the foxes with my daughters. Because it's probably my one of my favorite animated movies of all time. It's so good.
Mhm. The animation's
And
stunning.
yeah, it's we just also watched Peter Pan and then Peter Pan 2, and the loss of animation quality as tech grew is crazy. And I guess it's because it's a lot more work to hand draw and
Yeah.
illustrate animation. So as soon as they could not do that, they were like, "Yeah, we're never doing that again. That was way too much work." But yeah, I was watching this one and action for this movie that yours does, unfortunately. Um, did I disconnect for a second
It
there?
it just did
Wait,
a little
fine.
blip.
All right.
So
Sorry
just
about that.
you can
Sorry to
repeat.
give you something to edit. And so we finished watching the TV show we were watching, and she fell asleep. And so I was like, all right, I'm putting this on. And I was watching it, and I almost wanted, there was like probably 4 or 5 times. I was like, this is just like the Fox one. I wanted to wake her up, but I didn't do it. And when he gets on there and he's wearing the uniform to kind of blend in to the archery contest, I was like, bro, this is exactly the same uniform in the Fox one. So I agree wholeheartedly. It's crazy that there was such a overlap.
It's like you said, the drop in the animation quality is one thing. Dude, the drop in Robin Hood qualities is devastating when you go
Yes.
back and see this. Like it was heart-wrenching stuff because I got MGM Plus to watch the Robin Hood, and I
Oh.
was like, this is not good at
Oh,
all.
that's
And
good.
and it's so bleak and like suffocating, and it's like, why are all the Robin Hoods like this? You guys watch the movie, like dude's laughing like
Hmm.
heartily at a lot of the
No,
times, and he is a like through and through swashbuckler. This is fun, and
yeah,
not to say it takes away from the seriousness of it, because there are times where the bad guys are being bad guys, and I'm like, whoa, that was
Hmm.
way more shocking than I thought it was going to be. So it's not like, oh, we're unserious, but it's they missed the freaking point of Robin Hood. It's very sad. And going back
yeah,
and seeing this, it was like, what have we lost?
Hmm. There's genuinely like this film is in Technicolor. This film is bright. It is
Yeah,
sunny. It
man.
is so well lit. All the
yeah.
colors are vibrant on the screen. And there are some dark moments, like when they show all of the first segment where the merry men are like starting to crack down on the evil Normans. And there's a scene in the tavern where like the knights are just grabbing the innkeeper's daughter, and she's
Mhm.
like, "Father, help me!" And you're
Horrifying
like,
stuff, dude.
"Oh my goodness, what is about to happen? This is a movie from the 1930s."
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I was shocked at some of the stuff I saw. I was like, I didn't think you could do that back then.
Yeah, this answers a question that Luke's asked me a lot of times of like, well, what's your perfect kind of story? Because I like comedy and
Hmm.
funny aspects and humor baked into my action adventure. And he's like, well, is Rush Hour your favorite? I was like, well, Rush Hour is good, but it's not my favorite. And I think that this one is the perfect answer. I mean,
Hmm.
there was times where I was literally laughing out loud, and then like you guys brought up the point where I was like, whoa, what am I like? This is crazy. This is there are for sure stakes. There was really intense scenes of action and in danger,
Hmm.
but it was also I loved the merry men aspect, and I think I've loved that. To answer your original question, when did you really kind of get to know Robin Hood? The proto Robin Hood in my mind is King David. So
Hmm.
growing up reading the Bible and hearing about David and his mighty men, man, you just get so fired up. You're like 10 years old and you're reading about them going and fighting the Philistines. You're like, dude, this is sick. And then someone hands you great illustrated classics, Robin Hood, and it's over, dude.
Yes.
I was telling my wife, I think it was on this podcast, my first appearance here, where I said that Robin Hood is the original gunslinger. And I stand by that, dude. That guy, he's too quick with the bow, but he's also got the sword down. And I remember, I mean, days, weeks, when I was probably 8 to 12 years old, a big tree in my parents' woods. That was the great tree of Robin Hood. I
Hmm.
wore green every single day. I made bows out of sticks in the woods. I had swords. It was the best. So Robin Hood is just so sick, and it is because of this. I think what Luke brought up of the Robin Hood is the light in the bleakness, right? Like you
Hmm.
can definitely put the stakes and man, these guys are getting just taken, pillaged, plundered by
Hmm.
the what was it, the
The
Normans?
Normans.
Yeah. And Robin Hood is the sole beam of light in that everywhere he goes, people are happy and overjoyed and life is worth living because Robin Hood is looking out for him. And it fires me up. It's so good.
Hmm. I found it amused me a little bit that this is one of those major turning points in the Robin Hood myth, because so I did a little background research. Howard Pyle's The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood is like the default Robin Hood, and the reason why is because
Mhm.
he's the one that took the Robin Hood ballads and turned them into children's
Very
books.
cool.
Mm.
Very cool.
Before, Robin Hood was actually in like the penny dreadful category
Oh,
in
wow.
like the
Oh,
1800s, and he's the one that went, well, what if we make him a nobler character? and he
Yeah.
adjusted the myth a little bit that way.
This
Very
dude
cool.
knew what he was doing. It was a good
Yeah.
call.
And then that's how he shifted into a different category. And now when we watch The Adventures of Robin Hood is like a revolutionary to a certain extent, trying to
Yeah.
do the right thing, et cetera, which even in The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle, he's still a thief, first and foremost, who wines and dines his victims and then goes, pay me
Yeah.
for how wonderful our feast has been, which is part of the reason why I love when they captured the Guy of Gisborne and Lady Marian and the Sheriff of Nottingham, because that is like the quintessential like Robin Hood type story from Howard
Yeah.
Pyle, where they'd bring someone in and go, we've captured you. You're going to give us more than half of your gold, but we're going to treat you to a delicious meal.
Yeah. Great scenes and like the dialogue in it. I know you guys were talking about charade before, right? And it's like
Hmm.
similar thing in the sword fights and stuff like that. They're also verbally sparring the entire time, and
Hmm.
like the
Oh,
dialogue throughout this
Good.
whole story was incredible. And it's something that definitely was a highlight for me was just how quick-witted Robin
hmm.
Hood is, and the fun dialogue. I thought that was another thing that is sorely missing in the newer Robin Hood stories is like he's too stoic, too quiet. What are we doing here? Like he is quick-witted in this one and has some great lines.
The end when he's fighting Guy of Gisborne and the guy is like, do you say a prayer? Do you know any prayers? And he's like, I'll say one for you.
Yeah,
And I'm
dude.
like, yes.
It's so good.
It's so good. Dude, and
Um,
his line with the girl where he's like, "Come on, unless you're afraid," and then he like stands up. He's like, "Oh, I guess you're afraid." Like he's just so smooth, you know. He's got the charisma on him.
Okay,
yeah,
genuine
dude,
question though. How much
fantastic.
of that do you guys think is because it's Errol Flynn, who
Mm.
like the man is just
Charisma.
glistening in the same way that bodybuilder is covered in oil. Errol Flynn is like just covered in this radiant charm because he is like this apex masculinity.
Yeah, dude. They chose a good actor for a good reason. I think he was a
Yeah,
perfect pick.
yeah, he is. I think definitionally like the base for swashbucklers, right? Like he. I mean, obviously there were swashbucklers that existed before him, um, but he kind of defined that term, and he's just so good. He's fun because not he's not just like handsome. He
Hmm.
also has the wit. He has the ability, and if we're to believe it, he has the physicality for the role too. I mean, the
Hmm.
Luke and I were talking before recording about the right from the start. Literally, he goes into the Prince John's lair and he's eating, and then they attack him, and then he runs up the stairs and does a crazy wall run up to a second tier
Yes.
of like I don't know what it was, balcony of some kind, and then he's up and
Hmm.
over. And I mean, just watching that, I literally was like shocked to my core because I think I locked so easily into. I think I forget all about was it Charlie Chaplin was a super
Hmm.
big stunt guy.
Oh
Like he
yeah,
did
Hmm.
some crazy stuff. So I
oh
forget that
yeah.
that existed, but it seems like somewhere in between they stopped doing really sick stunts, and then Tom Cruise brought them back to their high level. You have the chase scene in Daniel Craig's Bond where it's like this is
Hmm.
some crazy stuff, but to see that level of stunt in 1938 was literally mind blowing to me. I was like, man, that was a real guy who did that. He like literally just did parkour before
Hmm.
parkour existed. That's crazy. So
Oh,
fantastic.
would
There's
love to see the stuntman for this.
Yeah,
so
dude.
that's okay. That was one of the things I noticed when I was watching this. So there's the scene where when they're escaping after they rescue Robin, that like cuts the rope and he
Dude,
like
Best freaking stunt
lunges
in the movie,
up.
dude.
I
I
was like,
love that.
oh my goodness, he's actually like climbing over this
And then he repels
parapet.
down the other side. It's like this was a double stunt, dude. This is incredible stuff.
And there was the other moment where like I think it's when Guy of Gisborne dies, spoilers, the bad guy dies in a movie from 1938. And he like falls off. I was like, that is an actual stunt guy. They pushed over the edge
dude.
of this parapet to crash
Yeah,
land.
dude.
There is no mat here. They just took a dude and went boop.
I would love
That's
to see the
something
stunt team for this.
something also to even talk about. It's a lot like lesser risk, and it doesn't necessarily illustrate, but as someone who's done a lot of jumping, even when in that same scene he runs like halfway down the stairs and
Hmm.
all of his boys roll up and they're like, "We
Yes.
got it, Robin will help you." And he jumps from there down. That was still like a 12-foot jump, and he just
Hmm.
Yeah.
did it cold turkey. He didn't roll or anything. Even the when he rappels down and is hanging
Hmm.
from the rope, that looks like it's like a 15-20 foot drop
Yeah.
down that he does from there. And swinging out of the trees. I was thinking about this too, dude. Every time we come on to do a movie with you, there's some sort of tree swinging that happens.
Yes.
Gotta
It's
swing for the
glorious.
vines, man. That was a
Yeah,
sick sequence.
it was
And
so good.
while we're on the stunt still, though, you know which one also shocked me was doesn't he have his hands tied behind his back when he's getting about to be hung and he jumps on a
Yes.
horse without his hands? And I was like,
Hmm.
that is terrifying stuff, dude. I was on a horse
That is
last
crazy.
summer and I promise you, I want my hands. Like, I don't want to go up there with my hands tied behind my back. So that guy was a beast. Whoever the stunt guy is, or if it was Errol Flynn, like that dude's a stud.
Give him a raise, dude.
Give him a raise.
Hmm.
Yeah, so good.
Olivia de Havilland. She's the actress that plays Maid Marian. She starred opposite Errol Flynn in I think 4 or 5 different films, including
Oh,
Captain
very cool.
Blood. I can't remember where this sits, like in the chronology, but part of what I love about this movie is clearly they have such amazing chemistry, and that's why
Yeah.
they continue to star opposite each other to the point where Olivia de Havilland had to continually say, "I'm a happily married woman. am not having an affair with Errol Flynn." And Errol Flynn's like, "Well, you don't know, do you?"
Probably make it tough for sure. If the tabloids were a thing, they would love that.
Yeah, she was great. I I never know how I feel about the full hooded suit
Hmm.
thing that they wear. Part of me was thinking though it would be one of the a funny like Instagram reel to be like show a bunch of pictures of scantily clad women and be like how women think men want them to dress and then how men want them to dress and it's all just Maid Marian from this movie. Because what I was really struck with by the costuming was
Hmm.
how much Padme Amidala in Star
Yes.
Wars seems like she's based off of those outfits,
Is
which
that
was
Natalie Portman? Is that
yeah,
Yes.
that
yeah.
character? Okay.
It was unlocking so many things in my mind of like, wow, Attack of the Clones,
Hmm.
even into Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
were so heavily influenced by Robin Hood. And I remember
Hmm.
watching the bonus features on the episodes 4, 5, and 6 box set that I had as a kid, and they had like behind the scenes that featured the sword fight between um, Basil Rathbone and Errol Flynn, and they were
Hmm.
saying this is where we picked up a lot of things. And this may be totally fiction, but I think this sword fight was one of the longest in film history,
Hmm.
the final one, and then Revenge of the Sith blew it out of the water because that
Yeah.
one's the longest sword fight I think now. But that was what I was struck with. Like she's a very beautiful woman, and then to have her kind of like hid in all these different things, it was so interesting to see. But I still think it's cool too how they use that with like the intimacy and growing
Hmm.
closer when he climbs up there and she's no
Hmm.
longer in her like cowled hooded thing and you get to see her hair for the first time and you're like, man, the romantic tension's too real. This is great.
Yeah, some great romance in the movie, absolutely. And like to your point of casting Errol Flynn, and then especially if you're saying these people, they always work together. It's like the casting was on point and doing a lot of the heavy lifting, I'm sure, for what could have been
Yeah,
just generic like
Hmm.
romance stuff, but it really comes off as like it just jumps off the screen a little bit more because their chemistry is so good and because they're both such like good looking people and they're so charismatic. It's like you really locked into to the story, and it's got that old romantic and I don't mean that in like the romantic sense. I mean that like old Hollywood romance sense of like
Hmm.
this is that's why I loved the sets too. You were mentioning the costumes, like
Hmm.
the sets just were the first thing that I was looking around and I was like, man, I this is what I love about old adventure films. This is what drew me into Indiana Jones when I started watching
Hmm.
those. It's like, dude, the sets, like this is obviously like these are all built and sometimes it's cheesy and you're like, oh, I can tell that's a set, but that's almost a part of how like the greatness of it is. I
Hmm.
love seeing the craftsmanship and how much was put into it. And I think the set design in this was astounding. And I'm not like a film nerd who's like, the set design, but this one made me that way. I was like, this
Hmm.
is fantastic stuff.
It's so to that point, I think that's one of the things that this film was still produced under the old studio system. Like this is part of what makes this movie work is that I don't know how long they had like pre-production. Most of these actors are character actors, people who frequently play this similar type of role. Basil Rathbone is playing a villain in the same way that he played a villain in The Mark of Zorro, the same way he played the villain in Captain Blood. And it's not to say that Basil Rathbone isn't an actor who's bringing something to the performance, but he knows this is what his job is. He's supposed to be this kind of villain who chews
Right.
the scenery. And then you had Claude Rains as I just love him as Prince John because he's just so sniveling. And while yes, the one from the Fox Robin Hood will always be Apex Prince John. Aha, aha. I think you don't get that without having this version of Prince John with Claude Rains. And it
Yeah.
makes his performance then eventually in Casablanca, which is obviously more of a hero role, so much better because you're like, oh, this is who Claude Rains played before we get to Casablanca.
Yeah, dude, like the archetypes that they're playing, like you're
Hmm.
saying, like yeah, they've done it so much, and it's so theatrical in a lot of ways too. Back in the old Hollywood system, that it gives you a different flavor than what people try now with their acting. It's a totally different type of acting, right? Because this is
Hmm.
pre um, Marlon Brando coming in and being
Yes.
like, if I were a bird and the world was ending, I'd be a bird because I don't know that the world's ending, you know?
Hmm.
And so he started to act naturally or whatever. Well, they didn't do that back then, and you could see that, and there's something to that. And it's again, I that's why I need to watch more older movies because there's you showed me Nathaniel, you showed me Mark of Zorro last year, and I was same thing. I was like, this is very different. It feels a lot similar to like when I see plays, you know,
Hmm.
and it's a different type of acting, it's a different type of experience, but it's enjoyable and thoroughly entertaining.
Hmm. Both of you have seen The Rocketeer, correct?
Yeah, that's a fun
I
one.
have not seen The Rocketeer actually.
Nathaniel
You got to
hasn't
watch The
seen The
Rocketeer.
Rocketeer.
My kids
Yeah.
are watching some kind of Rocketeer TV show right now. It's new, I think. It's
Uh,
wild.
the reason I bring it up is because there's several moments in this film where, so the Rocketeer character, played by Timothy Dalton, Neville Sinclair, is supposed to be like an Errol Flynn type. And there is a scene where you like see a movie being made, and they are like one for one shot the final like sword fight down
Oh,
the
it's so cool.
wall. And I was like, oh wow, they really were faithful in these are the same types of shots. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's cool.
I love when they do stuff like that, dude. I love wearing your inspirations on your sleeve. You got to do that. It's so good.
Yeah. I think the sets I noticed looked very similar. I mean, the Marco Zorro 1940 is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all
Hmm.
time. And
Just
this one,
chef's kiss.
yeah, what's super interesting because this is a lot like it. I wrote
Hmm.
this came 2 years earlier, so you really got to think that they were just like, this formula worked, do it again.
Hmm.
Do it
And
again.
it was exceptional. But I noticed the sets from this and the sets from that had some overlap. There was times where I was like, man, am I watching the Marco Zorro 1940? And another thing too that what's crazy is I don't think either of you guys have watched it, but Secret Service in Darkest Africa,
Hmm.
a Rex Bennett adventure is like a 16-part serial that came out, I think maybe even earlier than both of these movies. And I tell you that Rex Bennett has sword fought down those stairs before. I was watching it and I was like, man, I'm watching. This is so cool. So to Luke's point of the sets really do add something of like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's just crazy to think too, how many books, how many movies, how many TV shows, when you're envisioning a book that you're reading, you're envisioning this set because it's so
Hmm.
locked in your adventure memory. And to your point, what I really like about Robin Hood is the cast of bad guys is so
Hmm.
rich. In this one, they didn't have the Sheriff of Nottingham, I don't think, or
He's
maybe they
in
did.
it, but he has like a minor comedic role
Yeah,
essentially, rather
is he
than
the
being the
third
big
guy?
bad.
Yeah. Well, because that's what's cool. Because you have Prince John as like the
Hmm.
overarching big bad guy, and then you have the sheriff, and then you have Guy at Gisborne, and so it's cool to have like I don't know levels of bad guys to fight, and
Hmm.
that always was super sick. But I mean, Basil Rathbone is got to be one of the best actors of all time, and I've heard that he was an exceptional sword fighter.
Yes.
So all of the stuff that he does is real, which is just too cool. I mean, he's so great, and to have the but kind of like is the start of the henchman big boss sort of thing
Hmm.
where it's like all right well you got to get this guy but he's not really the brains behind it but he's the guy you're going to have to face so yeah I mean the casting superb the sets even better well I don't know if that's true the casting is just too good to be have anything even better than it but it's just so much fun and it really just jumps right off the screen at you
It is weird how those stairs looked so familiar. And have you guys seen Robin Hood Men in Tights?
I have seen it a long time ago. There was a
Yeah.
small, I was like 50%, no, 25% of me. The moment we finished The Adventures of Robin Hood was like, honey, have you seen
Hmm.
the fantastic Mel Brooks film, that Robin Hood Men in Tights? I was this close to putting it on immediately afterwards because I think it makes a fantastic double feature.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rewatch it soon because I swear again, those steps were in. I feel like that was the same
Hmm.
exact. I was like, I've seen that, and I've seen Robin Hood there, and I was like, this is that movie because in the movie there's like a joke where there's like an exit sign above,
Hmm.
and that was like one of the jokes, and it just looked like that set with the exit sign above. So I was like, this is either the best recreation or the same set, and it is funny that the steps just stick out as their own character.
Well, okay, so this is one of the things that I found. We touched on this a little bit. There have been so many Robin Hood adaptations. A, is this the best adaptation? And B, is this the best? Is this the most well-known Errol Flynn role?
For the adaptation, it's tough because I don't know the source material well enough to say that.
Hmm.
It seems like it, and
Hmm.
it's the most fun swashbuckling one that I've seen. Everyone else seems to be taking it too seriously and kind of making it like
Hmm.
something that it doesn't need to be.
Dour Russell Crowe film
Yeah,
that feels just kind of sad.
yeah, like that doesn't feel right as Robin Hood, and this one does feel right. And then what was the other part of the question was is it
Is this Errol
the
Flynn's like best
mm,
known role?
probably right? Yeah, I feel like I can't think of something that would be more. Maybe Captain Blood is
Hmm.
potentially up there,
Yeah.
but I mean, Robin Hood or Captain Blood, you say those names out in public, people are gonna know who Robin Hood is. A lot of people will be like, "What? Captain who? Captain Hook?" And it's
Captain
like,
Hook?
yeah, it. So I think you're right on both counts probably. What about you? Do
Nathaniel.
you see it the same way? Or yeah, or Nathaniel, you back? How you doing, sir?
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Is this like one of the main things I noticed watching this movie is like this feels like the first early action movie because
Yeah,
it's hitting a lot of the plot beats that we get even today to a Fast and Furious film, where just the way that the action moves and the pacing, where to your point, it doesn't feel like an old Hollywood movie where you're just
right.
waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, there's always something happening, It's to your point that it's action set piece after action set piece, and there almost seems to be an intentional, like, here's a set piece, like we're gonna make this happen. And even character introductions through action,
Hmm.
like when he meets was it Little John when he pulls the
Yes.
stick up and there's stick fighting, which was probably my favorite fight in the movie. I thought that was awesome. And then to the point of the swashbuckling, he's falling in the water and laughing. Like it is it is to your point of prototype action movie because I thought the same thing of Mark of Zorro when Nathaniel showed it to me, and this was just kind of that even earlier. And
Hmm.
so that's a great point. I think um yeah, I can't think of because Casablanca and stuff like that, that's what people think of like with older movies. It's like that's not an action movie, and that's well,
Hmm.
what would have been the equivalent of an action movie for this era. This is the primo example.
Nathaniel, do you think that this is the best Robin Hood? And do you think that this is the most well-known Errol Flynn role?
Um, I think it probably has to be the best Robin Hood solely from the point of view of I think it captures the tone best, like Luke
Hmm.
brought up early on, of the idea of like it's not it's just bleak enough that you know that there's real stakes, but the laughing the whole time just gets me. I mean, the when Friar Tuck comes in, who's also uh
Yes,
in Mark Azoro,
same
he's
character.
Fry Felipe. Yeah, he's exactly the same character. And the jokes that they're making there of like you don't need to eat any more food. You've got enough food for three of us. And then he's like, yeah, but I'm better than 12 of you. And he's just ready to go right at it. Like the quick wits, the everybody laughing and having a good time. It really is like what I imagine Robin Hood would have been like, where they're like kind of to your point of them being thieves before and actually like slightly darker characters. Like you can tell that they are dangerous dudes. There's no doubt about it, but they're also having a really good time. And I like that a lot. I think that's something that's missing from a lot of more modern heroes is those guys are not always having a good time.
Mhm.
Like these guys are having a blast. They're here for having fun. So it has the lightheartedness while also having the high stakes. And as far as Errol Flynn's roles go, I think it would have to be this one or maybe Captain Blood. Those are kind of the two that stick out in my mind of most
Mhm.
famous things. But I mean, he was wildly prolific for. I think he died at
Yeah,
like
man.
52 or something like that,
Yeah.
which is crazy. I don't know how. I guess the
How do you make
unions
so many
weren't
movies,
firing.
dude?
Yeah, the unions weren't firing on all cylinders. They must have had him like, all right, go shoot scenes for Captain Blood. Come over here, Robin Hood. He was just on set all day shooting 5 movies at the same time. But
That's funny.
yeah, he's great. He's great.
I haven't seen it yet, but he's supposed to have been in a few Ernest Hemingway adaptations, and I
Yeah.
think like they were some of his later roles, and he was actually, I think, Oscar nominated for Best Supporting
Wow.
Actor in For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Wow.
Okay.
Someone can fact check me on that, but
Mm.
that's one of those movies I want to get to see just because of that.
Was he the guy in, maybe it was not him, but Snows of Kilimanjaro had like an adaptation that I watched that was older and it could have potentially been him. Might not have been, but it was a good adaptation nonetheless. I thought it was a cool story. You like seeing him in the med bed getting taken care of and it's flashing back to different time periods in his life. And it was a really cool older film. I don't know if it was him or not. Dang. It's
Well,
gonna drive me nuts. I'll look it up later.
we'll put it on the someday watch list for future episodes of Suit Up. For like Robin Hood's devil may care attitude is, I think, a highlight of this movie. What what is your like this typifies what I think of as a swashbuckler moment in Robin Hood? For
Oh, I
me,
thought
I
it was,
think it's the obviously the like fight down at the end is like
yeah.
that's the big scene. But even at that, when he captures Guy of Gisborne and Maid Marian, I feel like that's just such a um, I'm doing the big action piece while grinning the entire time, and oh look, I'm going to invert what you expect is going to happen.
Yeah, that's where I think it's that fight I mentioned earlier with the stick when he fights Little
Hmm.
John. And you know, he gets thrown into the water and he comes up and that's the swashbuckling moment of dude just starts heartily laughing and has a good time. He's like, I wanted to see what you were made of and that kind of thing. It's like that to me is just the swashbuckling ethos right there. That guy embodied it in that little moment. And that scene is probably my favorite in the movie.
I think this one's not necessarily. I don't know. This one's a tough one, but I really like the intro of him just riding up as they're about
Mm-hmm.
to kill Much the Miller's son, and they're like, "Well, we got to kill this guy. He killed a deer," and he's like, "He's my servant. You have to come after me." And I think and then you find out a few seconds later that that was a total lie. He was just BSing to get the guy out of a spot. So that shows that he is this mana character who's not afraid to kind of twist things a little bit to do what needs to be done. And then jumping right into him rolling up to this feast as it's happening with the deer. I thought that was so. I mean, he knocks like 3 people out with the deer, and I was like, all right, this guy's the swashbuckler. And then it just keeps going from there. It builds. I think it like builds more and more, but right off the rip, you get the thought like this dude knows what he's doing and he doesn't care about upsetting people and he's having a good time doing it. So
And my
it
man
fired me up.
has a great performance too when you see the scene where he gets captured and things like that. Like you can see that
Hmm.
it's the man is making a lifestyle choice here to be a swashbuckler
Hmm.
because there's some pain and sadness in his eyes with the situation, but he's like still staying the swashbuckler and having the good time and
Yeah.
making the jokes. And it's like I liked the layered performance. I thought it was kind of cool that you could see Errol Flynn giving you a little bit of like, ooh, this is a dire situation, but
Ooh, I may have overplayed my
yeah,
hand here.
I might be in a tough spot now, but I thought he remained the swashbuckler. It's like that choice to keep the optimism when there's looking like none.
Hmm. The two thoughts. One, when that moment where he rocks up in the castle and he's like going, well, you guys are all a whole bunch of fools, and clearly you're doing the wrong thing because this is Richard's kingdom, not John's kingdom. And he just puts his feet up on the table, leans back, and chews a leg of mutton. As the bad guys are starting to get up and like circle around him, I'm like, badass.
Classic, dude. This
Awesome.
guy's the man.
The
If this
other
movie doesn't hype you up, I don't know. Got to check your pulse.
The other thought was when they do the competition. Because like classic Robin Hood, there's the moment where we're gonna trap him by luring him in with the golden arrow, Maid Marian, and then he gets in the disguise. There's something about that like proof of high competency that
Yeah.
just is so deliciously masculine, where we're getting to see people at their best at something that, quite frankly, takes a lot of skill, and most of us today barely know how to do.
Right.
The longbow sequences there are just so good.
Dude, especially because people don't realize trying to pull back that kind of bow,
Hmm.
you pro dude, 90, no, 90 might be too high, but a lot of people are not going to be able to pull it back, let alone hold it back, because like the new modern bows will like lock
Hmm.
out, and then
Yep.
you have to hold that tension the whole time with that stuff, and the amount of strength that would take is unbelievable in and of itself. And then to your point, the preciseness of shooting through an arrow when you're like, that's not far enough, go back it up a little bit more, is a true show of this guy knows what he's doing. And the fact that he was like, back it up, shows the confidence too, where he's not like sweating and shaking in his boots like, can I do this? He's like, I know for a fact I'm gonna be able to do this. And I love that. Yeah, the confidence right there is worth aspiring to.
I think too the whole idea of like characters who it's too easy for is a thing that's thrown around a lot in men's adventure fiction, where it's like,
Hmm.
okay, that can definitely short out a character of like, well, he doesn't have too many struggles. And
Hmm.
I think that this is a prime example of handling that well, right? I mean, he
Yes.
does he does get captured and he's about to get hanged, but never once are you like, are they actually going to kill Robin Hood here? You're like, he's going to figure out a way. He always has to figure out a way. So I think that the way that you get around a character being too flat and one dimensional, if they're super successful, super competent, really confident, is making them charming. And
Hmm.
he exudes charm. Like you said, this dude's glistening in charisma. He's the guy, and so I think that that's what's so cool about him is you want to be like him. It's not more of a, I don't know, the bad iterations of Superman where you're like, oh, he's just
Hmm.
good at everything. Or a lot of the things that people didn't like about Captain America was like, oh, he's too good. He's boring because of it. You never feel that this guy's boring, even though
Hmm.
you know he's going to succeed. You know that he's capable. You know that he's competent, and that's what I think that's why the swashbuckler can get away with being almost a perfect character, is because they're so engaging, and there's enough of the kind of like crime side of it where he's kind of on the morally gray area, but you know that he's sticking to the right thing and doing the right thing no matter the cost, even to himself. So it's just so good. You're right about the competency just fires you up. And Luke, like you said, if this movie's not getting you hyped, then nothing will. Like it's so good.
I
I
agree.
think that part of what makes that really work well is that you have that scene where he's like he's better than everyone else, and then the follow-up is, but he does get captured.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, a good balance of you need to have the hero have just a little bit of, ooh, they're not going to do it perfect every time, even though they're nearly
Right.
a perfect human being. And honestly, this is something I think you've done really well with Nate Cole, where as
Thanks,
a
man.
character, he's extremely competent, but that doesn't mean that occasionally he doesn't bite off a little bit more than he could chew. And it isn't until things are going wrong he goes, ooh, perhaps I may have miscalculated. And
Yeah.
that's part of like real life, I think, in a lot of ways, especially when it's something we're domain dominant in. It's really easy to go, well, I've got this
Yeah.
handled. And then as sequences unraveling, you're like, I had it handled up until about 10 minutes ago, and now the situation is in question.
Right now, I'm
Right.
fighting for my life, man. This is me every time I sign up for a deadline to publish a book. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, this is easy. I could do that tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and goes. I'm like, well, that's not good. This might
Yeah.
be a bad thing. But I
Nathaniel,
think
why are you just repeating my life right now?
well, that's the Luke and I actually talked about this a little bit on last week's episode, or this past podcast episode of, I think that that's where character is revealed in both real life and in fiction, is
Hmm.
once the guy gets there, you come to this point where his options are either kind of not necessarily crumble, but like have to lock in a way that is not fun anymore. And he's like,
Hmm.
oh man, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. And then the other side of it is he realizes that, I mean, I'm not Robin Hood. I have no Robin Hood experience, but from this movie, you see him go into this full, like two-fisted. This guy's ready for it, and he's
Hmm.
not upset that his life has turned from
Hmm.
Earl of Locksley or whatever he is to now being this guy who's hiding out in the woods. He's having a blast with the boys. And I think that that's the same sort of thing that kind of shifts for me is there's points in time where my writing has gotten me to angst and concern. And then I remember, oh, I'm writing a book. This is something that I want to do more than anything else for the most part. Why am I not having fun? This is so fun.
Hmm.
And I think that that's sort of the shift that Robin has the whole time. Like he's like, and this is a bad situation. I like doing this. What am I thinking? Like, what am I talking about? This is a good time. Like that, I know my boys are going to come get me from the hangman's noose. I don't have to worry about it, and I'm capable for when they put that horse in front of me to jump off with my hands tied behind my back. Like there's no problem, you know. So I think that that's the shift that you can take from this character into your everyday life of man, and everything's kind of falling apart around you. If it's something that you love, remember
Hmm.
that, and it puts everything in perspective.
Well said, baby doll. That was good stuff.
Thanks,
There's
man.
there's the moment when Will Scarlet's like, "We slept in the woods. I awoke two birds. What have we done with our lives?" And Robin's just like, the birds awoke us with a chorus. We breathe the fresh air." I'm like, this was what 11th century England. There's nothing but fresh air. What are you talking about? Um, but he's just like, this is, we can enjoy this. And
Yeah.
here's where the good is. And I think that that is just such a wonderful thing about this movie is like it's so bright, it's optimistic. It's the swashbuckler
Yeah.
ethos
Oh
at
yeah.
its very core.
Yeah, dude, always ready to reframe to, well, no, it's not that bad because, like you said, like this is something to be enjoyed and to be soaked up. So the swashbuckler is always finding that enjoyment and that just like gusto, that excitement for life. I love that. Like it's yeah, sorely missing from today's fiction, not only with just Robin Hood stories, but it just today's
Hmm.
masculine fiction is too dire and stoic and bleak, where you need to add some swashbuckling.
I was
Yeah,
just about
which
to segue into talking about our own writing. I was curious, how much has Robin Hood bled into or informed your guys' storytelling?
that's a good question. I mean, when Luke was just talking there about the swashbuckler buckler ethos and all of this stuff, uh, it's been a very challenging conversation for the past 40 or so minutes to not bring up Thorn at every turn because
Thank
I
you.
remember literally like 3 minutes into reading it, I'm laughing out loud because the stuff that happens early on, it's good. It has the exact same sort of thing. I think Luke texted me like, "How are you enjoying Thorn?" I was like, "Dude, I'm laughing. Like this is what it's all about." Because I think that that's the whole like it's missing, and we're trying to bring that back. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts about writing Nate Colt is I write that to make myself laugh. You know,
Hmm.
having shifted from Nate Colt to Sal Coltolino and writing that story, it's very hard to write them similarly yet differently and
Hmm.
in a way that's still humorous because writing from a third person perspective is harder for me to write funny stuff when you're not inside the guy's mind and hearing him think all the time. So props to you for making
Thank
me
you.
laugh within the first like 2 or 3 pages. You know, like that's good stuff. As far as Robin Hood affecting my writing, I mean, I don't think I realized it until this podcast that Nate Colt is my own version of Robin Hood. You know, he's on the line of good guy and bad guy and does crime, but for the right reasons. You know, so I guess hugely it's affected me hugely. What about you, Luke?
Well, I also want to plug Thorn because that's what I when I was watching Robin Hood, seeing the dialogue that I was saying, Thorn is able to capture like that
Oh,
old Hollywood quick
yeah,
wit
dude.
that is just not there. Like it's just not in
Thank
many
you.
pieces of fiction. And yeah, of course, because even my stuff, like people are so man of few words. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's so the default, and it's like there's something about the guy who has a tongue and like can speak well and is funny and quick witted, and you have such a vast like cast of characters too.
Hmm.
Where same thing happens in Robin Hood, where it's not just like Robin Hood is the guy and this is the only character worth watching. everybody in Thorn has rich character and personality that's worth seeing in the way they interact, and the mystery in Thorn too is like engaging and compelling, and you're like,
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
I didn't get it right at all. Um, so it's I will just have to plug Thorn. Like if you like Robin Hood, if you enjoyed this conversation, Thorn is definitely the book to pick up. It's absolutely the book to pick up. Um, and we were talking about on we had like a Q&A thing of literary double features. Dude,
Hmm.
Thorn to Crime is My Caper, great double feature. You got two swashbucklers,
Yeah.
That's a
old
good one.
school swashbuckler, and then hop into the modern swashbuckler, and you can see that through line of the swashbuckler ethos. So great work on both you guys' parts. But for me, swashbuckling, I think it's informed more of like my life and like not
Hmm.
charisma, but like just how I want to see the world. My
Yeah.
writing, I feel like it hasn't come into my writing a whole lot because I fall too much into that camp of stoic Hemingway-esque characters, quiet
Hmm.
characters. Noah's like more of a quiet dude. When he goes up with a swashbuckler like Sal and stuff like that, it's very funny because he's not that. He's like dry pen and like don't do that. So it's always there in my life, like flowing in the currents there.
Hmm.
But I feel like with my writing, I've yet to like do a full blown swashbuckler because even
Well,
Cutlass Kane isn't really a swashbuckler, right? I mean, that dude's a serious guy.
Cole Hardnett's got a lot of swashbuckler
It's
to
true.
him, I think.
Yeah, he probably
That's
is like the most
Gun Law.
swashbucklery.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a great character. I mean, everything you're right is great. That's the benefit of reading the Veritas authors is it's just chock full of stuff. Which brings us to you, Terrence. Do you? I mean, even Mitch has a lot of
Hmm.
swashbuckling attributes. So, do you feel like he was influenced by Robin Hood as well, or is Thorne really where you concentrated all your efforts?
Thorn is probably the most direct like relationship that I tried.
Uh-huh.
For the attitude is definitely what I tried to give Mitch, where it's devil may
Yeah.
care, whatever the consequences are, the consequences are. I just need to keep moving forward. And I think that the main thing with Mitch Mayhew that I try to keep him as a character in medias res. He doesn't really dwell on the past and he really doesn't consider the future. He just knows what is the right thing that I need to do now or what is the thing I need to do now. And I don't know how much that translates into how much because I think it depends on the variant of Robin Hood. Like how much is he a forward thinker or a strategist?
Mm.
But I think some of my favorite versions of him are he doesn't have an escape plan. He just knows that I can get through this.
I
Right.
am the escape plan.
I am the escape plan. And there's that element that I tried to carry into Mitch Mayhew where it's just I'm gonna do the thing. And
Right,
the consequences are gonna be fine because clearly how can I do any wrong?
right. I love that.
It's so good. Um, yeah, it's fantastic. It, it's interesting to see this play out through multiple different characters, because
Hmm.
I mean, my most peak swashbuckler character is Jacques, and I feel like
Yes.
he is. I I want to try and take his character further into the swashbuckler realm because right now he's a swashbuckler primarily in action. Everything else, it's
Hmm.
just kind of like what he does. He doesn't really
Yeah.
have a personality outside of I fight people, So to flesh that out more into giving him more personality and more character traits within the story lines is going to be fun and interesting. Um, Having read Thorn, and like Luke said, there is a mystery in there.
Hmm.
I got it right. I got it wrong. I got it right again, wrong again. It was just, it had my head spinning the whole time. It was masterfully done. Super excited about that. But you've got a fantastic cast of characters here.
Thank
And
you.
how, I don't know, not to interview you on your own show, but how did you did you have people in mind when you were writing these guys, like characters you casted, or was it just kind of the vibe of each one, the feeling within them?
It was the vibe. This is normally I try to like come up with this is the old school Hollywood actor that I write for.
Uh-huh.
Ever since I
Oh
heard
yeah.
that William Goldman starts every script thinking I'm writing for Bogart and Audrey Hepburn,
That's so
I'm
cool.
like, oh, that's fantastic. I genuinely just was like, what is a good story? Who are the
Mm.
archetypes here? And I wanted to play with what
Yeah.
those archetypes are because to Luke's point, I really like the brooding, serious character. And the moment that I knew Sir Godfrey was that kind of brooding, serious character, it helped inform the rest of the story because then he's got Sir Thomas as his as the funny guy to bounce off of, and they make a good duo because you've got the straight man and the one that just keeps cracking wise. And it also
Right.
creates good tension for the rest of the story.
Yeah,
So,
the interplay between characters is some of the best stuff, you know. And that's what's great about the swashbuckling genre and all that and the
mhm,
characters is that you don't have to rely just on the action. It's like
yes.
the verbal sparring in and of itself is as fun as
Hmm.
the fights, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so good.
They're just as good.
I love that we've had this conversation. I've loved talking Robin Hood. Gentlemen, final thoughts. What's like your big takeaway from this film, and where can people go to learn more about you and your work?
I
Go
can
ahead,
go first.
Nathaniel. Yeah, tell the people.
I know Luke's the deferring man, so I appreciate that. I think for me, this book or this movie is like illuminating my writing going forward of trying to capture the tone of that, where you have the great, serious, hefty stuff, but also the engaging dialogue, the humor, the believably unbelievable set pieces. I just really liked every aspect of that. Um, and to work that into where you can find me is in a Veritas double version of some kind with the man of the hour, Terrence Lehue. We're going to be doing a crime fiction one, and so
Woohoo!
that's super exciting to kind of work that into Sal Coltellino's story as a mafia enforcer kind of guy. And is he a funny guy? Is he an angry guy? Is he both? How does that work? I've been really enjoying writing that. It is a pretty scoping story, so I'm happy to see where it's going. Other than that, I write the Nate Cole adventures, Giacomo Ferrantino adventures, all with the heart of swashbuckling. I think that is crucial to my favorite type of storytelling. So that's what I put in there. I put a liberal dosage of swashbuckling in each story I write. Other than that, you can find me on the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast with LS Goodish every week on Wednesdays.
And at Piedmonticus, if you need some sick like style fashion, you've been
Mhm.
posting some fantastic outfits that I've been trying to copy in my everyday life so I can be as cool as the swashbucklers we read about.
Thanks, man.
Hashtag dress like an adventurer.
Dress like an
Heck,
adventurer. Yes, sir.
for me, Robin Hood, dude, this was a great experience. Thanks for giving me a chance to watch this and pushing me to watch more older movies because one thing that I really took from this was the stunt team, dude. I want
Hmm.
like you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has
Oh,
the is
yes.
it what is his name? Cliff Booth. Like
Cliff
Cliff Booth,
Booth.
sick character, and it's like in real life, there was a real guy who did all these. I would love to learn more about the stuntmen. If there's ever any book that I find out about like old stuntmen, I'm reading that. I'm reading it. But so that's a big takeaway is that this genre and this time period and is so special and it should be revisited and appreciated and reborn with things like Thorn because
Hmm.
there's just not enough out there like it now. We've just left a whole type of genre and storytelling behind, and it's not cool. Where you can find me is LS Author either here on YouTube or on Instagram, and the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast anywhere you
Hmm.
listen to your podcast. But yeah, my book Odyssey of Fire just came
Aussie of
out,
Fire.
so you can check
Got it
that
right
bad
here.
boy out.
Beautiful
Um,
book.
There's
so
some
check.
swashbuckling in this, dude,
There's
for
some
sure.
swashbuckling in it.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed if you do pick it up. But thank you again, Terrence, for having us on here to talk about this. It was a good time.
Too much
Absolutely.
fun.
Thank you guys again for joining the show. For people that are curious about Thorn, it comes out this Tuesday.
Let's go.
Available on
Super
Amazon on
exciting.
paperback and Kindle. Thank you guys so much. It is always a pleasure. Until next time.
Take care.